Main B plus interval. Roger, main B interval. Stand by, Adriene, we're looking at it.
Welcome, Nick the astronaut, to the BackPocket Podcast. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm all about them back pockets.
Love it, dude. Hey, well, what's in your back pocket? What does the back pocket mean to you?
Well, not my wallet anymore. Sciatic issues. I quit putting my wallet in my back pocket.
It's bad for your posture, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And as you get old, man, you just feel it like up in your neck and stuff, and your right side is all tight. I gotta quit doing that. And but when we talk about metaphorically what's in my back pocket, confidence. It would be confidence, and it's something that it happens through failure. And the quicker you can get there, because we all want to talk about our 10,000 hours and stuff like that, but really your 10,000 hours with confidence begins at a young age. Nature versus nurture. So when you're going into kindergarten, is your parent or parents slapping you on the back saying, "You got this"? Or is mommy saying, "You'll be all right. Don't worry, you'll be all right. I'll be right here at 3:03 p.m. Don't worry, you'll be all right"? No. I like being slapped on the backside in my back pocket saying I got this. And that's what I do with all my friends who are about to go on stage. I no longer ask them if they're ready. I say, "You got this." There's a big difference in that wordage. Are you ready? You're asking a question and you're setting them up for fear. Because no matter what, if you've ever performed or spoke or anything like that, you know that there's a fear element there, but you have to blanket that. You have to hide that no matter what. It's within all of us, but we have to hide it. And when other people who are supporting you, they can instill in you not a question, but a statement. You got this. That's a big difference. Mm-hmm. And I think our 10,000 hours in the game of confidence starts early on. And it's something that has led me to really kind of hit the ground running in the game of having the confidence to book these bigwigs, to have the big dog conversations with people I have no business conversing with. We can all get there, you know, and it's I've faced that question a lot. Not what's in my back pocket, but how'd you do it? Mother trucker, confidence. Be confident. You either are or you're not. There is no in between. And it's something where we can do that when we talk to our bosses, to our superiors, to someone who runs a group, someone who runs a mastermind. They're going to think you should be running that mastermind if you roll in the first time confident when they give you your 2 minutes or 1 minute to stand up, introduce yourself, introduce your business. Do it with confidence. Do it like you might not even know what you're talking about, but do it like you know what you're talking about, like you're meant to be there. And then before you know it, you've got 14 people handing you business cards thinking that you can consult for them, that you can help them. And it's a weird place to be because it all stems from confidence. And so often, dude, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just know I lead this life and I just put one foot in front of the other, try to live in this moment as much as I can. And that's what's in my back pocket.
Bam! That's good. That's good.
I love the metaphor of life. Like you brought it right away. You said, my mom.
Yep.
You know, what does your mom do? Is she right there for you after school? How about this? Like riding a bike, learning how to swim, kissing a girl for the first time, or a guy, 2018.
Yep.
All three of those things, if you just send it, if you just freaking do it, then you go back in. You're not going to be afraid to jump in the pool for the second time. You're not going to be afraid to pedal your bike for the second time. Once you get that thing, man, you're locked in. You have the confidence to do it again.
Absolutely.
And it's second nature to you. You fail at it the first time, right? But that second time, that third time becomes a habit. And I think that it applies so much to life, man. You're with Stationary Astronaut right now. You created this empire out in Rochester, Minnesota. 120,000 people in Rochester.
Something like that.
And a little background, I'm not from here. I'm from Denver. And when I found out the Gary Vee event that you put on was in Rochester, I did not know it was an hour and a half away until an hour and 20 minutes before the show started. So I showed up a little late. But anyways, tell us a little bit about Stationary Astronaut. How did it all start? Where'd it go?
Oh, man, it was something that the seed was planted early on, and it was planted before I had the name, the oxymoron Stationary Astronaut, because if you think about it, that's an absolute oxymoron, a stationary astronaut, when we think about an astronaut. So it all started, I'll be honest, man, through fate. I was locked up in 2010, Hennepin County Jail. Okay.
That's kind of close to you, right? This is Hennepin County?
Yeah. So I used to live off Franklin in Chicago. Okay. And I was locked up. And this dude, his name was Nick as well. He was going away for 20 years. Okay. But he had this like glow about him where he was meditating every single day. He had no time for the hoopla that goes down in the main hall, the mess hall. He's got no time. You know, he's always meditating, just focusing on himself. He knows he's going away for a long time. He brings me this book. It's called DMT, a Spirit Molecule. And at the time, I had no idea what the hell this was. It was 2010, so I might have been listening to Rogan's podcast for 6 months, if that. And this is before the documentary DMT, a Spirit Molecule. That all stemmed from this book, and then Joe Rogan obviously hosted the documentary. And so I read this book, and it was all talking about the glow of the jungle, the Amazon jungle, and how all these plants, these living things, have an auric field with the color of the rainbow. And we all have it, utilizing our chakric system. Some glow brighter than others. All depends how much work you do, and if you have a solid sleep schedule, if you eat sometimes organically, things like that. If you take care of yourself, you're going to glow a little further. But anyways, so I'm reading about this, and it was just crazy to me. I was like, what? There's this potent psychedelic, the most potent psychedelic ever, runs through all of us. It's produced by our pineal gland, our lungs. It's in all these plants. And what, dude? Like, it's a gateway to the other side. And like, little background, I lost my dad when I was 6. And I held his hand while he died. But it's beyond that depressing shit. It's that he pointed into the corner of the room and he said, I see baby Nicole. I see baby Nicole. Baby Nicole was my cousin's twin that died at birth. And she was obviously, he was tripping out at this time. They took him off all life support. He was dying of cancer. And he kept saying, I see baby Nicole. I see baby Nicole. And sure enough, that was her coming through to grab him and pull him into the other side. And I'm a 6-year-old hearing that. That's some adult stuff right there. That's weird to me. So, but I always held on to that like, yo, there's something bigger working that we might not see, but we feel it, you know, and sometimes more than others. And if you ever work with some solid psychics, they talk about your lost loved ones will come talk to you in your dream. What's happening in your dream, the visuals in your dream and the emotions that you go through in those really real dreams, that's DMT flooding your brain. And it's very cool when I read this book and it was explaining all this stuff. And then I was a felon at the time, a triple felon, and so I made it a point that I got out of jail and stuff like that, did all my stuff, and I realized, dude, I got to get down to the jungle. I have to get down there. So fast forward like 5 years, I get off felony probation, everything.
2015-ish?
Yeah, 2015. So it was actually fall of 2014. So everything was dropped down to gross misdemeanor. So now I can leave the country. Okay, so after I got released from probation that day, I immediately went down to the first floor. I applied to get my passport. I got it like a month later, so my ball's rolling. This is December of 2014. January of 2015, I reach out to Aubrey Marcus, the owner of On It with Joe Rogan, and he was on Rogan's podcast
a few times.
Yes,
900 region. Yep.
Yeah, so he was on his podcast talking about his trips down to the jungle, and I reach out to Aubrey. I tell him, listen, Aubrey, I failed Spanish all 3 times I took it. Like, I'm a gringo who can't speak a lick of Spanish. Tell me where I got to go. What retreat center do I have to go? Less than 24 hours later, I'm walking into my factory job at the time, and he hits me back. He's like, what up, Nick? This is where you got to go. You got to talk to so-and-so and da-da-da-da. Go to this website. So I did it. So my ball was rolling, okay? This was January 7th of 2015. The following month, so I got my passport. I know where I got to go. I don't have the money yet. I'm just working a 9 to 5, regular 9 to 5. February 19th, I'm just kind of down in the dumps. It's winter time. It's really dark, you know, and my wife and I, my girlfriend at the time, we go to this psychic. Her name is Jerema Silva. She's a Brazilian psychic, a very good family friend. Link me up with her. I go see her, and she midway through the session, she just gets this feeling, and she didn't know me from Adam. This is the first time she's ever met me. She just got this feeling, Nick, you belong here. On this piece of paper where she was going through my chakric system, she writes Peru. circles it, stars it. She had no idea Aubrey Marcus told me where I got to go in Peru the month prior. So now my ball's really rolling. And I had felt in my heart, I got to quit this factory job. I'm moving up the totem pole, getting raises left and right, but getting certifications and stuff. But it just wasn't me. You know, I'm a salesperson. That's what I went to school for, working in business, grew up in small business. So that's like a month later, I quit that job. I moved back up here for a couple months to train in at this restoration sales gig. And sure enough, the storm season rolls around and starts going good for me. Money's falling out of the sky. I booked my trip to Peru. So I go down there August of 2015. And throughout this entire process, man, the moguls you meet down there, oil tycoons, Silicon Valley tycoons, agents from New York, Florida, Miami, all these bigwigs go down here. James Cameron went to the same exact retreat I went to 5 years prior to making Avatar.
So this is an organized event that you attended?
Yep, okay. Yep. With spiritual practitioners, shamans, and a lot of them were American, a couple Australians, and it's just really a cool setting. Like, they actually wholeheartedly care about you, unlike therapists, where it's a transaction. You know, it's a monetary transaction where they know at the end of that session you're going to be cutting them a check. It's kind of a different story when you go down and work with these practitioners. So anyways, throughout the entire week, bro, you're drinking this strong brew, and I just kept thinking, like, man, I'm here, but I'm there. I'm on this side, but during ceremony, I'm on the other side. I'm tapped into something bigger. Kept thinking, like, what my dad saw when he was dying, stuff like that. And then, sure enough, first night, my dad comes through with baby Nicole on his hand. You get my drift? And Jerema Silva told me, and my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, that my dad was waiting there with two children's souls, waiting for us to have kids, because they're going to reincarnate back into this third dimension. So we just had our first 5 months ago. We could attribute it to that. It might be baby Nicole. I don't know. But anyways, the following year, so I come back, I do my work, I start really focusing on the Wim Hof method, focusing on my breath.
Love Wim Hof.
Yes, absolutely.
I read his book,
it's magic.
Becoming an Iceman.
Yep.
Yo, he's good.
He's really good, and he's tapped into something greater than himself.
Absolutely.
When you hear him talk, you absolutely know that. So I start doing the Wim Hof method, and I'm really focusing on, like, what I want to do when it comes to my purpose. Because like I told Gary, when I turn 30, I need to have my purpose honed in. So I plan another trip, and I call it Off the Grid August, where if it wasn't for Get Me Gary Vee this year, I would have been back down in Peru. So I go back down again. I already knew we're already stationary astronauts. Something bigger is going on. But I come back with kind of the name of what I'm going to build my company around and what my purpose is going to be. I'm going to be a glue piece for movers and shakers, the Michael Jordans of what they do. And we're actually going to start making noise here in the Midwest. We're very lucky. We don't have all these forest fires. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have earthquakes, typhoons. We don't have big tornadoes in our cities like Oklahoma City. We're lucky. You know, a couple years ago, Hurricane Sandy had the base of the Statue of Liberty underwater. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to worry about that. We got 10,000 lakes that ain't going nowhere. You know? So we have a great place here when it comes to what the Mayo Clinic is doing, the #1 hospital again on the planet. What happens when people get old? They need more health care. And as we are becoming so in tune with ourselves, now people's religion is that yoga mat. You know, that's their church on Sunday, is focusing within. Not this external higher power. They're realizing it's within me. I'm tapped. I am a walking God if I want to be, you know, with my mind. And if I focus on myself wholeheartedly, I can start. Life is malleable, and I can start taking risks. I can build my confidence up to the point an entity, an enigma, such as Gary Vaynerchuk, who none of us can touch. All of a sudden, I have the possibility to get him here. Through confidence, through connections, through being a glue piece.
Yeah, expand on that a little bit more. What do you mean by that? You're a glue piece.
So really, I am a connector. So my last retreat down in Peru, I always thought that my spirit animal, we all have a spirit animal, and it kind of guides us. It can really, the quicker you learn what your spirit animal is, and that's obviously just putting a label on it, but the quicker you learn what it is, it will really help guide your life and kind of your purpose in life. So I always thought, like, oh, I'm a leader, it's a timber wolf, or I'm powerful, it's an African elephant. No, dude, the other side came through and was like, motherfucker, you got it all twisted. Your spirit animal is a giant squid. And the reason for that is because those 8 arms are very important. What you do is you grab people and you bring them in, and you create teams. You grab them and you bring them in and you create teams. So I really took that and I ran with it. And that was in 2016. So I really started.
I just want to mention this real quick. My spirit animal is the East Pacific red octopus for the similar reason. I mean, those 8 arms are able to vibe into the environment around them, and then that's how they become what they want to be, and they adapt to every environment. And that's like, all right, through this podcast, I can talk to anyone and start vibing with that person, get those tentacles, arms, that red octopus. So I feel that.
That is dope, dude. That is so dope. Kindred spirits right here.
Well, here's my spirit animals, the golden eagle. Ooh. But like, I have no explanation for that at all. It was kind of
red, white, and blue,
dude. I bleed red, white, and blue. I feel like I try and be the most aware person. Like, everything I do is so. I'm always trying to find another avenue. Like, we had this podcast guest who told us about sensory acuity. It's pretty much what Tony Robbins preaches at times, and it was like, always entrepreneurs have this way of always being aware of what's going on around them. So when I'm working in a construction job right now, you know, I'm learning the processes. I'm waking up at 4 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m., coming to these pours. But what I'm really looking at is, okay, how can we have this superintendent who's just a boss. He's been around for 40 years. But I look at how he has come in this last 2 to 3 months and how he's changed the goddamn culture of this job, where it was unsafe, it was, you know, all these different things. And he comes in and he gets exactly what he wants, and that's what I pay attention to. I try and mimic everything he does because I know that's, if I can apply that to the podcast, to our LLC, to, you know, everything in my life. I mean, it sounds selfish, like getting what you want, but if I'm in tune with myself, then I can understand, you know, that's a greater good for other people. When you bring in people with your squid arms, you know, you bring in, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk on one side, and then you bring Theo Von in on the other side, which, by the way, I just try and sound like Theo Von all the time, which is bad. You know, I don't want to sound like Theo Von.
At times, I mean, it's
pretty good. I don't know.
He's a goof.
Gang, dude.
Yeah.
but you bring those guys in, right? And it's like Theo Von and Gary Vaynerchuk, like, that makes no sense, right? But, dude, going to that performance in Rochester, that shit is awesome, dude. Like, I was fueled up, man. And Andrew wasn't there because he was in Lollapalooza, but Andrew, like, we were talking about this last night. He was like, dude, there's not a day in your life going forward where you won't talk about that night, or you won't talk about something revolving Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, you always talk about him. And it's like, dude, that's because it was powerful. That shit affected me. So thank you. And, you know,
that moment, man, that moment, and like so many people throughout that process, they weren't going to consume. They weren't going to go to it. They didn't get it. They didn't understand. Being in that room is what matters. And that's where you can go get the content that we've released all week. Gary has released all week. But it's just not the same, man. It's not the same about, like a Tony Robbins event. Man, you go to a Tony Robbins event, there's something about that big giant putting his arm around you, squeezing you in. That's going to change your life forever, whether you catch that content on the back end or not. Just that moment. But then again, at festivals,
staring up my hair,
yes,
staring up on my arms, just that physical touch, that emotion of that being that close makes a difference.
I've had that at festivals as well, though. Gary and I think we talked about my old Dave Matthews Band days, going down to Alpine Valley. And when you're down there and you might be on some magic mushrooms, I don't know, wink, wink, and you just feel this connection with everyone in that venue. Oh my gosh, man, nothing can take that away from you. You can listen to a million albums, but after an example I used actually on the podcast was when Super Freak died, you know, and they played it. They played Super Freak. Bro, Rick James was there with us, you know. It was just perfect timing. You had to be there. Yeah, you can hear their live series on an album that you buy from Best Buy, but oh boy, man, something about being there, it changes the game. Or after Prince died, you wanted to be at every every show down at First Avenue or 7th Street Entry. You just had to be, because you were going to catch a rendition of Purple Rain, and it was going to change your life. The hairs were going to stand on your arms, you know? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, is it's all about timing, you know? And I felt that the stars aligned for Gary Vee and Theo Von, Giselle Ugardi, and DJ D-Mill. You know, the stars aligned. And even meeting the Social Works boys, the Social Butterflies, throughout this process, pulling them in with my arms. That's where magic happened. And Giselle will tell you, bro, we weren't the best prepared. You know, we were all chickens with our heads cut off, dog. And everything, like, she's the glue piece over there sitting on her freaking MacBook with her squirrel. She is the glue piece, dog. She pulled it in. Everyone was so impressed with her. And if anyone is a born leader, it's that girl right over there. You know, and
shout out Giselle, because this doesn't happen without you. Coming into the den, just off of Sarah Schuler, doesn't happen without you. This is thinking about people that's impacted us and led to the next thing.
Yeah.
So Sarah connected us with you. You came on the show, told us that you were going to be a host of Gary Vee. Then Declan has the opportunity to go see Gary Vee, and he gets to meet Stationary Astronaut. Bam, we're all connected, and this is something that's so unique. This collaboration right here, I mean, it's powerful. People can look at it as small. They'll listen to the podcast and they'll hear what our conversation took place, but the actual interaction between us 5 right now in this room, it's pretty cool. Yeah. That's a unique experience.
Absolutely. The cameraman over there.
Love you, dog.
Raph over there, man, he rolled in this. You should have seen what he was wearing, dude. Raph, what was that? Was that what kind of garb? Was that Hindu garb? What was that?
It's called a prince coat, and it's a custom made coat, and it's for like fucking weddings and shit, you know. But I was like, I wanted to stand out, and I knew there would be people in suits, but so I was like, screw it, I'll wear a wedding garb, and like Gary Vee.
It's formal.
Gary Vee will remember the one person who's wearing something weird. You know, everybody else is wearing good clothes, and you know.
But like that's like confidence in yourself
Yeah.
to just do that, because you know, like Gary Vee literally talked about it at the show, and he was like, "You guys are so worried about like living like you're in 3rd grade still, where you're like worried about what everyone else is thinking." Like that's a great example of like, you know what, I'm gonna put my ass on the line and you know really stick out and just see what happens. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Think about it, though. Like, say you go to a comedy show, right? The comedians you love... Ooh, Mr. Butterfly's giving us a jingle. The comedians we love the most are the ones that we know are confident up on stage. Same thing with any performer. Mm-hmm. You can tell when it's uncomfortable for them up there. And it's like, oh, that's why I'm in a hole-in-the-wall venue and you don't belong up there. But the ones I'm drawn to, and kind of like those leaders in 3rd grade... the ones who are confident. And that was just me, man. And I don't know if it was growing up as an athlete. I still hold all the shooting records at my old high school for basketball. And I had to be confident. And they say the best shooters they have a short memory span. So I would get taken out if I wouldn't shoot. So I got to forget about the 8 shots I just missed. And I got to keep popping. And that's something where it was just my life. So when all my friends were scared to take their training wheels off, I was just doing it. When all my friends were scared to ollie this 8 stair, I was just doing it. Think about the consequences later. I always talk about, I love the people who just say yes and worry about their calendar tomorrow. Those are the kind of people I love. The kind of people like Giselle over here or Mr. Butterfly. We're all going to New York in a couple months for the Jets-Vikings game. All of us were like, yep, we're going, and we'll worry about our calendar tomorrow. We'll worry about getting off work tomorrow. We'll worry about that later. Let's live in the moment, and let's focus on the good times.
Because once you make that commitment, you will figure out a way to make it happen. But you first have to make that commitment. You can't be 1 foot in, because then the whole time you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. I can't. This is not what I was supposed to be doing with my time during this Jets-Vikings game in New York. I mean, that's quite the leap. But make that commitment, make that verbal altercation with each other, and then boom, you'll make it happen.
What do you get out of people who don't travel? You always get closed-mindedness. You get people who, a lot of them, all racist people don't travel. You get my drift? And they're the no people. I like yes people. People who they worry about their calendar tomorrow. And what you get out of that, it's beyond the travel. It's beyond the beautiful sights and the cool Instagram pictures you're going to get. It's all about the moment. You're going to get the moments out of it. You're going to meet this random old dude at a coffee shop you wouldn't have been at. You wouldn't have met if you didn't say yes 2 months prior, you know? And you get put in these weird situations where, for me, being down in Aikido's, where it smells like shit everywhere, but you're just forced, like there's armed guards all over the place, but you're just cruising, man. It doesn't matter. Funny story, my last time I was down there, we were in the market after we got out of the jungle the day before. We were in the market day before we flied out as well. And I had one of my friends down there gave me a what's it called, where it's you can read it with other languages in it, Spanish in it. It's a translator book. Mm-hmm. And I had it in my pocket, and I had my wallet in my other side in cargo shorts, and then the translation book in my left side. And a Spanish person in the streets down there stole my translation book, so they figured out how to speak their own language.
Good for them.
Way. Yeah,
they yoinked me. But the thing is, I'll never forget that. And it put me in a position where it's like, okay, I got to mind my P's and Q's when I come back here. Things like that. Denver, Colorado. I'll be in Denver and Breckenridge a month from today for a wedding. And it's something like the last time I was there, I drove through South Dakota, drove back Nebraska. I took an interstate, or a county road, my bad. I took a county road on the way back. What happened? We got pulled over. I know not to take county roads in Nebraska anymore. Yo, Raph is tripping over there.
You good, bro?
Dude,
Just need your face to be a little more lit.
are we being abducted right now?
Stationary astronaut style.
Holy moly, baby. We cannot forget that this podcast is sponsored by Justin Lagash at Sun Butter. Make sure you tune in, go online, check it out. They've got so many options, baby.
Allegedly, but still at the same time sponsored. Allegedly.
We love being allegedly sponsored.
You better cut some checks, though.
Skyline Specs, MB Outdoors.
Hey, let's take note real quick. We got gear on. We got the stationary astronaut
Some bad
gear on.
podcasting.
You guys got the rebranded logo because it had to shrink down with the Gary Vee event. That's something that we realized is just effective in any manner.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't be over promoting something that's, or promoting anything in regards that can't be detailed, fine tuned. So you guys had to relogo. This was in the past 5 weeks.
Probably the last 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
We just did the same thing because we had so much words and just it was kind of just a lot of bojangling around in there in our logo, and we kind of just sat down one day and we were like, look, we can just simplify this and keep the same thing, but just make it stand for something more. You know, like when a good example would be Beats, like Dre, Dr. Dre. His logo is the B, and it says Eats. You know, Beats, but everyone recognizes the B. We're BackPocket, but we want everyone to recognize the B. The front, which is just the B, and it has a P built into it. It's just a simple logo that we can promote, put on all kinds of stuff. You can see it from far away. You know, your dad with bad eyes can recognize that that's the BackPocket. You know, all those kind of things, all kind of are. It's more symbolic, I guess. One thing I want to touch on real quick about travel. So Andrew went to Hawaii this past J-term, so January, and I've been to London, Ireland, Spain, Italy, and Greece.
Sick brag.
Yeah, sick brag, dude. Anyways, but I think one thing that you were touching on or just getting to was perspective. When you go anywhere outside your social circle, anywhere outside your bubble where you're forced to be uncomfortable, you know, like Giselle said in one of our previous podcasts, like one of her things is, you know, she's comfortable with being uncomfortable. She's very much herself when she's outside of, you know, that zone. So I think that's one thing about when you go on like a vacation or you go travel for that Vikings-Jets game, like you are fully immersed in that moment, and it's fight or flight at every decision you make, and it makes you who you are, and it totally helps you understand the world. I think
that's the best. Being comfortable, uncomfortable. That is something where it's never kind of talking about our friends who are about to take stages. It's the most uncomfortable thing ever, but you get to the point where you sharpen your sword, and it's just like second nature now. Same thing with travel, hopping on a train. Not being able to read the signs, but you know, okay, I need to go in this direction. And you get there, and before you know it, oh, I'm glad I took that leap because I met this person or I got put in this situation that tested me and I grew from it. you see that with big cities as well. Being in the rat race, bro, in New York City, or I'm not going to say Miami. Miami is a... Have you ever been to Miami?
I have not, but you could say like Chicago, LA.
Chicago as well. There you go. LA for sure. Miami's a different kind of city. It's kind of just South Beach and downtown. And I'll never forget when I was down there last fall for work. I saw the same drug dealer later in the night that was trying to offer us drugs downtown. He was down in South Beach where we were staying. And then the next day we were back downtown, went to a museum, and sure enough, he was back there. And it's so easy for them to get back and forth, no matter drug dealer or not. It's just the commute is easy. Chicago's a little different. Same thing with New York City. New York City's a zoo. Same thing with LA, just a freaking zoo. Now when I go to California, we go every February. We go kind of mid-state. We go stay in Santa Cruz, stay up in the hills there, go up to San Francisco, hit up some redwoods, go, man, it's just like experiencing. Nowadays, because I'm an old man with a child,
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you, brother. I like to experience the things that like young whippersnappers, they're just not comfortable with, you know. The clubbing in big cities is played out for me, things like that, going bar hopping. I always hit up a museum, and I hit up some visual stuff. So when I drive through South Dakota to get to Colorado every time because I love the Black Hills. I just love it. It might sound corny, but I love it. It's God's country. And same thing with, like, I was just in Toronto. Bro, I make sure to hit up a museum. I'm by myself for work, but I make sure to hit up a museum. Might seem corny, but the thing is man, it's just like, it's the experience. And then I make something fun out of it. Like when I travel, I do this thing called Where's Dave? He's one of my old partners. He's got a deep radio voice, worked in radio for a long time, and bigger boy, and he's got a big burly beard. So what I do is I take his head off and I throw it on stuff. So when I'm in a museum, I'll throw it on a monkey. Oh, where's Dave? Found him. Or I'll do it on like old Greek statues, you know, the heads. I go in, there's Dave's head on every single one of them. Just little things like that where I'm getting my rocks off by myself. And that's the cool thing why I like Snapchat, that I'm about to graduate from, why I like Instagram, because we can be creating our own moment by ourselves, and we feel like we're not alone. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I love technology.
Yeah, I love it too. I was just explaining to, like, I also work with just a bunch of old guys.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, the old man complaint is always like, oh, everyone's always on their phone, like video games, you know, blah, 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 just not really knowing what they're talking about. I was like, do you guys understand how much I accomplish with this phone in addition to the stuff I do for work? Like, I'm connecting with people on LinkedIn, Instagram, sometimes Facebook, almost every second of the day. I'm posting stories. I'm just that interaction. I'm actually leveraging, you know, my phone for its capabilities, mm-hmm. for good and for, you know, something that I actually care about. And I think that's a big misnomer. Yep. It's a big misnomer where everyone's always assuming like they're on their phone playing like Pokemon. Like, granted, Andrew, you do play a lot of Pokemon on your phone, but like...
Gotta catch them all.
Exactly. No excuses. So, you know, I think it's an interesting stigma, but man, you can really leverage and make shit happen from your phone.
See, the thing is it's a perception thing where old heads think it's, which it used to be all about attention. Now we're seeing timelines are being based on value. And that's something where back in the day, back in the 90s, your value to your neighborhood was, oh, you have a trailer, so you can go help Josephine and Larry move down the street. That's your value for the day. Now you can provide value throughout the day using the internet with your smartphone. That's powerful right there. I like when we talk about being a glue piece, being that squid, being that octopus, where I can provide value for my connections, for my teammates all day long. Nick, I need this. Oh, I got you. I know the guy. Just yesterday, Raph and Brandon needed to meet because Raph is a beast on After Effects. You know what I'm saying? Things like that where you used to have to send a pigeon to be of value. Now, it's just one group message away. What did we do this morning? You added Andrew into our group message. Boom, you provided value. No matter what, just like that. And then we start talking. We're going to give haircuts tonight.
That's going to be a fun time.
Things like that.
So, man, did we ask an average quality? I forgot.
We have not, no.
Okay, so that leads us perfectly into our first question of this interview. which is usually what we start as. But you know what? When we got guests on like this,
when we get rolling, we got to get rolling.
yeah,
Absolutely.
this train does not stop.
No. So the Back Pocket, it's your wildly average podcast.
It's always been your wildly average podcast.
And we get your co-host, a couple average guys. Love recognizing where we need to improve. You started with talking about confidence through failure.
Yep.
Boy, we lived the failure and we continue to live failure, and that's what we try to ride our horse on, is finding that failure and pushing forward and finding, you say, you got this, we say, figure it out. Same methodology. And it all comes through the average quality, that self-recognition through humility of being like, okay, I'm not that great. You're connecting people to improve on those qualities, or you try to improve it yourself. So, Nick, what is your average quality?
I tell you what, man. I would say one of my best qualities would be my confidence. So then my average quality, and this is going to kind of come from left field, it would be my anxiousness, my anxiety. And it's something where I'm always working on it. And it's forcing me to humble a freaking braggadocious dude. You know, I always accept that it's in my back pocket. I accept that it's there. I accept that it's with me when I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I know I didn't do enough the day before. I got more to do today. The thing is anxiousness and anxiety gets a bad rap. It's something that we all have in some shape or form, some more than others. Some acknowledge it and some don't. The reason I say it's in my back pocket and it is my average quality is because I can put it at bay. That's where confidence comes from. You're able to tell it to fuck off for a little while, but it's still there and I accept it. Some people deny that and then they end up in problematic situations because they won't accept it, and then they have anxiety attacks. You see people who have never been forced to, they've never been put in weird situations in life. They might have been a trust fund baby. They might have had everything handed to them in life, a perfect American-made household, 2-parent household where they never had to face real issues in life, maybe in 9th grade with this or that. They just lived on the surface the perfect lifestyle. I feel bad for those type because eventually they're going to have to face the music. I have a buddy down in Rochester who grew up in a builder household where his family's a bigwig builder, did a lot of big projects, and he had school paid for him. He was allowed to be a super duper senior, never had to really face the wrath of life, was allowed to drink too much, stuff like that. Mid-20s, he has to face the music when the traveling's over. Reality is setting in where it's like, no, dude, everyone's making moves, but you're just still, you might have a master's degree. You might be gunning for that doctorate, but what's it going to do? Yeah, it'll look cool on the wall, but bro, we're all putting our hours in. You know what I'm saying? That's a different kind of anxiety that he was yet to accept. It's obviously just a comparison I'm making, but I've always been open. Like you see me do these mental health Mondays where, bro, I love talking about mental health. I love talking about where we're at because some of my favorite people are the most anxious ones, and they're the ones that accept it. So I know that might not be what you're looking for, but anxiousness and anxiety is probably my go-to when it comes to accepting it, realizing I have it, and then pushing forward.
That's it. That hits home. And I thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And I know definitely a lot of our marketing interns will relate to that because anxiety, no matter how impactful it is, like you said, there's different levels. Every person has different anxiety levels. That's science. I mean, that's inside us. Those are those chemicals reacting in different ways. I fail to recognize my anxiety on multiple occasions. I've had a handful of mental breakdowns, whether it was too much pressure on a football field and small scales like that, or trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm 22 years old and I don't put that in perspective, and I try to put all that pressure on me, and then it turns into stress and anxiety rises and I'm panicking. And when you mention stuff like that, you got to just embrace it. You have to recognize it and appreciate it because it can make you more powerful once you feel it. And another great example is when you're just traveling. There's so many minute things that you go through during traveling where your anxiety builds, like whether it's the plane being delayed and then your anxiety rises because like I'm not going to meet my parents at this time and everything's going to be thrown off. And those are like real world problems that could be translated in a fine-tuned fashion where you're just like, okay, good. That happened. Good. How can I utilize the time that's presented and then move forward? And anxiety is so important to understand because it is in all of us, and every single person will handle it differently. And that answer right there, thank you.
Dude, did an anxiety hit when you got a notification on your phone saying there was a missile coming for Hawaii?
Yes. When I was in Hawaii, that was a perfect another example. I'm in there. I think it was like January 19th, and on my phone it just alerts me saying nuclear missile heading towards Hawaii.
That's right, dude.
And I'm sitting in my hotel room in Honolulu, the most populated portion of Hawaii. You know they're hitting Honolulu versus if you're on any island, you're going to get smoked. But Honolulu is going to be ground zero. And I'm like, okay. Laying in my bed a little hungover from the night before because it's 9 a.m. And I'm talking to my girlfriend on the phone, and I was like, hey, do you mind Googling if there's a nuclear missile coming towards Hawaii? I just got a notification. She goes, what? Yeah, just Google it for me. And she Googles it. And while she's Googling it, I go out to the hallway, and I'm like, all right, there's got to be commotion going on. Let's see what everyone else is doing because I have no idea what to do. All my roommates in my hotel room had gone to breakfast early, so I'm by myself. Open the door, maid sitting there. You want towels? I go, no, I don't know. Close the door, like what? You want towels? There's a nuclear missile coming my way. And I go back into my room. Girlfriend says, well, you got 15 minutes if this is actually happening. If it was North Korea, whatever, Russia, whatever it was, if they sent it, you have 15 minutes. I was like, I did not, I talk about not processing it. I was like, this can't be real. For the next 15 minutes, I was just like, all right, let's stay on the line and let's hopefully everything doesn't happen. I turn on the news. People are jumping into manholes, jumping into the pool in the back of hotels or in their yard because supposedly the radiation won't hit as hard. Manholes. And some people are just sitting on the curb with 40 in their hand, just drinking. It's like, talk about chaos. It was utter the university, which was 2 miles north, just people trampeding over each other to get to the nuclear missile base that you could stay protected, and it wasn't big enough, so people weren't getting allowed in. Talk about PTSD from that. You're not getting allowed into the place that's the most safe, and you're standing on the outside as a student, 20 years old. What am I supposed to do now? Ended up not happening. We got a notification 39 minutes later. Oh my god! And it was sorry, this is a false alarm.
That was a long 39 minutes.
Long 39 minutes.
Another thing is accepting. Dude, that's a crazy story. Sorry,
we've actually never told that on the podcast.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah, it was nuts, but it was once. I love telling it because at the end of the day, it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. So I could take a deep breath and try to realize during that moment, what could I have done differently? I got to call my parents.
It's crazy how when circumstances like that, kind of like with sports, everything slows down, mm-hmm. where that 39 minutes feels like 3 hours. Or it might have gone quickly, I don't know. But for me, man, things like that, stressful situations where you're no longer in control, that's where you have to just ultimately let go. And that's where love comes from. Unconditional love, when you have to fully let go. Situations where it's totally out of your control. A lot of it comes from, us being at shows and things like that, where you're just so in the moment. You just love everyone. I learned another thing that I put in my back pocket would be my ADD. A shaman down in Peru, Malcolm Rossiter, he's an Australian shaman. I was asking him, man, I cannot stay focused. And that was actually going to be my main back pocket when I was reading through the pre-questions, was my focus. Because I am the best at focusing, I can hone in, but I'm also the worst, and I'll admit it. And my ADD just gets the best of me, dog. I've been diagnosed, but the thing is I think that in a nutshell is a crutch for some people. Some others, you just know they got it. But if you're someone who can function and get stuff done, chances are good it's just a crutch, because we all have some form of attention deficit disorder, whether we want to admit it or not, especially with these smartphones we deal with on a daily basis. We wake up to them, we go to sleep with them. We're cell phone whores, We're technology whores. But anyways, he told me, he's like, Nick, send your babbler, they call it, send your babbler on a mission. Every single time he wants to start chirping when you have to get stuff done, send him on a mission. And tell him not to come back until he comes back with the answer. So since 2016, I've been doing that. And I've been using it to my advantage, where I send him on a mission where little angles. Because, when you're navigating in life and you want to provide quality to our life and to other people's life, you've got a lot of missions, especially in the 21st century with everything moving so fast. Bro, we're expected to get a million things done in a day. So when you have ADD, it's very tough. So what I do is I send that mother trucker on a mission every single morning and don't come back until you got an answer for me. And it works. And it might be a placebo, but it works. It actually works. And it's tangible because I get shit done. It's something that it's a tool I use. I tell people, if you want to get a leg up and you have these issues where you can't focus or whatever that may be, you have a lot on your plate and you have minimal time to get stuff done, start utilizing that. Send it on a mission. And we can call it our ego or whatever we want to do. But at the same time, bro, we can use it to our advantage. And I think we all, like college students, for instance, man, if college students could really sharpen that sword, and instead of relying on their Adderall, they could send their babbler out, and they could just stay in the pocket, and then send your babbler out. And then when it comes to maybe a part of a math test you have coming up, you're not really good at this part, where you send him out, and he'll come back, and 2 days before when you're really crunching for your test, he comes back with an answer. Now, that's obviously trippy to think about, but it works, man. And it's something where it's like setting intention is huge. Tony Robbins talks about it. Setting intention is probably one of the most important things we can do for our life. And I think that's what I'm getting at when I talk about sending your blabber out to go get a mission done. It's really setting intention. Don't come back until you come back with the answer. I don't want to talk about it. I'm too busy. I got to stay in the pocket. And that's something where I really, as I get older, man, with a daughter and stuff and being married, I really have to focus on that because, let's be honest, man, as you age, and you guys will realize this, your time and your energy is so fucking important. Nowadays, we want to be yes men and we want to say yes to everything, but we've really got to be calculated about it when it comes to saying yes to everything. Now I see why Gary Vee and Zach Nadler, his booking agent, Gary doesn't know about anything until a couple weeks out. It's Zach Nadler who has to say yes to the right opportunities. And with me, I throw the name Mayo Clinic out a lot and the DMC out a lot. And sometimes it gets me in trouble. But at the same time, that's my ace in my sleeve, the Mayo Clinic. I couldn't get Gary Vaynerchuk up here to the Twin Cities. It just wasn't that kind of draw, You need to provide these people with unique opportunities when booking. That's the most important thing. Theo Von, I took Theo Von because I couldn't get Joe Rogan, I'll be honest. So I was talking with Joe Rogan's booking agent. He works with one here in Minnesota. And it's been the same one for years. And they gave me a deadline where I had to, after he filmed his latest Netflix special, I had to wait exactly 3 months. But that was pushing it. That was late July, so there was just no way we were going to get him, and he costs a lot, and he double books, so if we did it, we'd have to do 2 Friday shows, 2 Saturday shows. That's just how he does it. Makes him a lot of money. So I went with Theo Von, and Theo Von was he fired his manager halfway through the process. I had already paid down payment on him. He fired his manager. They weren't doing much for him or whatever. So everything that could have went wrong throughout this process did go wrong times 1,000,000. And then that comes into what comes into play there is just this blind faith that everything's going to work out.
You got this.
I got this. Pat on the butt. I got this.
We like to say good. Have you seen that Jocko pot?
Jocko, baby.
Mm-hmm. Something goes wrong. Something goes bad. Something doesn't go your way.
Recalibrate.
Good.
Yeah. Re-engage.
And he's using this exact mic, and I'm looking at you from this angle. I'm like, holy shit, this is Jocko just talking in the mic, dude.
Well, I might be bringing him out here in February. But the thing is, bro, is I feel so bad because he doesn't have the draw here. And it's very tough that's a big gamble. We just gambled hard with Gary. Took a loss, but it was a great clout builder. But with these public speakers, they cost a lot of money. And the cool thing is now that we got Gary in our back pocket and he's endorsed us to Tim Ferriss and stuff, we can get these people. But at the same time, I can't bank on the public perception. That's the toughest part, man, with even musicians nowadays. People are making excuses to not go to shows. Like, my wife and I are going to Lil Dicky at the Armory here in a couple months.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it's going to be the shit. Are you coming?
I'm coming.
Are you going to be there?
No, but now I want to. I didn't know he was coming here.
Get your shit together.
Yeah.
When is it?
October, first week of October.
Oh.
I think it's October 4th, maybe.
That would be fun.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're going, baby. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Lil Dicky at the Armory. That's gonna be a good time. But Lil Dicky and like his booking process, they're so smart with how they do it, where they build hype, and they create a lot of content, and then he goes on tour. With speakers, they're just on tour. Their tour never stops. If they get the right opportunity for a Mayo Clinic or whatever that may be, they'll hop on it and they'll go. And that's very tough because in Minnesota, we are enslaved to the Four Seasons. So we have to base so much. We can't risk bringing Joe Rogan here in February when Lord knows we're going to get a blizzard sometime. Mm-hmm. That could ruin everything. And we can't bank on that. We don't have sunny Southern California weather.
And it's totally out of your control.
All the way, man. Just kind of like doing a concert or a festival outside. Dude, you're risking everything on one weekend and the weather being all right. Mm-hmm. It's tough, man. It's a big gamble when you don't have the deepest pockets. So that's kind of where we're trying to, like even Jay Shetty. So we might be bringing Jay Shetty out here, and I'm waiting because his Facebook Watch show is on fleek. 25 million views every single video within the first week, killing it. But it's just very tough when you're dealing with Midwestern minds. We don't have the New York state of mind. We don't have people who are ahead of the curve in Los Angeles. We have this weird mind state here where everything trickles in. Everything trickles from the coast.
From the coast, yeah. Whether
Yes.
it's the vibes of Cali or the vibes of New York, that hard or that chill. It's all feeling those trends. And that's kind of what I'm curious about. So how do you try to recognize those trends in the Midwest? Do you wait until they're full blown and they've already hit, so then the Midwest realizes it and then you go after it instead of trying to find that new piece of information? Or is it kind of all flowing together?
Nope, I have to be ahead of the curve because it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and that's why I knew I had to sign the dotted line for Gary Vaynerchuk before someone else did. Same thing with Jay Shetty. Same thing with Jocko Willink. I'm trying to be ahead of the curve. I call it the Joe effect. If they've been on Joe Rogan, I want them here.
Oh, yeah.
That's the long and the short of it. Kind of like Oprah. Everything Oprah endorsed in the 90s and early 2000s, it turned to gold. The O effect, it was just tangible. It would happen. Same thing with Joe Rogan. You go on his podcast, that means you're a dog. You're a mover and a shaker, and you have something going for you. And so that's where we're trying to kind of tap into that vein, and we're trying to play that trickle-down effect with anyone who goes on Joe Rogan. I do my research, even like Graham Hancock. So Graham Hancock, I knew about him way before he was going on Joe Rogan, just because of the work he was doing in with the pyramids and stuff. And then he started going on Joe Rogan, and then I went and met him at the U of M, saw him speak, and then met him before, and then chopped it up with him afterwards. And it was really cool because this is a guy who was just on Rogan's podcast a month prior, and I'm sitting there chopping it up with him. And then Dennis McKenna recently, where I met Dennis McKenna that night at Graham Hancock. No one even knew who Dennis McKenna was. And then I went and met Dennis again a couple months ago. He was doing a speaking engagement in St. Paul. And I went up to him just confident, and I told him that story about how I was the only one who recognized him that night at Graham Hancock, and I was telling him about Mayo Clinic and how I've got some ins there. We would like to start doing some ayahuasca research, but we would have to bring residents from the Mayo Clinic. That's typically what they do with their studies. They'll send residents down because they have a medical mind. They're on the verge of becoming a doctor, and they'll give some actual solid results. So I was telling him about this and how we could make it happen, and then I gave him my card, my stationary astronaut business card, and he's like, yo, your business card is way cooler than mine. Here, take mine. So since then, we've been working with him. We're going to be, we're going to be bringing him down to Rochester with Gabor Mate next year. That'll be cool. We'll do that as a salon installment. If we get Neil deGrasse Tyson, it will be after Neil deGrasse Tyson. So we're just going to be we're having the conversations that need to be had, kind of like what you guys are doing with your podcast, man. We want to keep it consistent, but I want to tap into a vein that hasn't been tapped into yet. I don't want to do this this blah stuff, the stuff that we won't have guaranteed results. Nowadays, I only want to hit home runs. I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste Giselle's time. I don't want to waste D-Mill's time. I don't want to waste our Netflix comedians' time. We only want sure things. So when people are attending our events, we want to make sure that they're going to leave with something. And that's the cool thing with Netflix comedians and world-renowned public speakers. You have to be there to get the goods. You can't download the Kendrick Lamar album before you go to the XL Energy Center to see him, and you already heard the goods of what he's going to be providing. That's not the case. So many people with Gary Vaynerchuk, they talk, oh, I can just get it on YouTube. No, you can't. Same thing with Netflix comedy. Bro, if they're an actual comedian, one, they're not putting it up on YouTube after every single one of their sets. And two, you got to go there live, dog. You got to go see it. And that's where you get the gut busters.
Yeah, I went and saw Rogan live last year, June, here in Minneapolis. Oh, I needed that. I had been like you talk about listening to his podcast. I think I was like senior year in high school. I started a little bit, and then it really hit home in college when I had more free time and whatnot. But I finally got an opportunity to see him live. I jumped on it.
June 22nd, I was there. That was my bachelor party.
Yes, yes. I went to it was the Friday second. It was the second show on the Friday. Phenomenal. And now I'm like, that turned me into like the ultimate Joe Rogan guy. And I was like, talk about seeing someone in person and truly feeling it. He was one of those examples, and it was truly remarkable.
What blows my mind, and this really didn't really hit me big. So we got Dave Meltzer on our podcast about a month ago.
Shout out to Dave.
Dave, he thinks we have this theory we talked about in the last podcast. Our roommate thinks that Dave just thinks we're a bunch of dweebs, which is fine. Whatever. If you got to go back to listen to that podcast to really understand why.
Dave might be right.
He might be. He probably is. But what we realized, so Dave had this party. He was supposed to have this 50 for 50 party in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago, or last week. Flight got canceled, wasn't able to make it, whatever. What we realized is when we showed up and like with all the other people that were supposed to be there, we're like, we are such a small kernel of the people that he taps into on such a large scale. Gary Vee, in my opinion, is the same thing. Millions of followers. And then he talks about the 98% of the people that will listen to his stuff but not do it. I say we're the 2%, right? And then you boil that down to, okay, who has the opportunity of those 2% to get in front of his face, to book him, to have that conversation, that Q&A, right? He talks about like two people of the 2%, at the end of the day, it boils down to this small, minute little kernel of people. And when we were at this Dave Meltzer thing, it got canceled, whatever, he's coming back. But again, it's that kernel of people. And it's like, man, we worked this way all the way to get to this point. Now we're here. We fought the uphill battle. It's time to take advantage of the opportunity. And it's not like you got to over-prepare. You got to have your pitch ready, your elevator pitch. It's like, no, dude, you already did that. The last year and a half, the back pocket has built itself into this mantra that Andrew and I didn't ever write on paper until yesterday. We didn't have a business plan until yesterday, right? But like that whole mantra, that whole, back to my thing is like the whole idea that you just got to get to that opportunity, and your work is going to take advantage of that. And Dave is going to love us. He understands we're dweebs, and we met for 45 minutes, but we've had an impact on him ever since then, and now we're ready to take to the next step. Same thing with Gary Vee. Like you're just trickling your foot in the door at each of these places, but you're staying in the lane. So Gary knows about you. He promoted you, did you a favor. You guys are having your honeymoon moment right now. But you know what? I guarantee you, in a year from now, there's gonna be something bigger at that point, right? Or there's gonna be more of a genuine interaction. So you just have to find all these different avenues, which is exactly what you're doing. And you're just gonna build this family, dude.
That's what we're doing. We're turning that kernel on its side, and we're
it's a seed. You're planting
we're making
seed.
a bag of popcorn now. No, but like I like what you said about that 2%, because I see it in the podcast world. Everybody wants to start a podcast. Everybody thinks their voice is so important that their opinion matters. Okay. Make your opinion matter. Go start a podcast. Get your equipment. Get your Libsyn account rolling, or whatever that may be. Go qualify for Spotify and iTunes. Go do it. 98%, shoot, 99.5% ain't going to do it.
And no one's going to do a podcast for more than 7 episodes long.
Exactly. And then you might do 7, and then are you going to keep doing it? Because in the podcast world, consistency is key. Mm-hmm. And then you break that number down even more. So, man, like I have been tainted very hard since 18 months ago when I started my show. I've been tainted because I've seen so many come and so many go. I've seen way too many talkers and not enough doers. And when you're talking on this microphone, you better be doing too. And those are the people I love. The ones who wake up and they're a voice on Gold 96.3. And they actually do as well, where they show up to meetings. They're accountable. Accountability is key. There are people who have bailed on where I dedicate in a blizzard a Sunday morning episode where I typically don't record on Sundays. That's my holy day. And I open up the shop and I open up the office and we're going to cut an episode and you don't show up. And you hit me up on Instagram Messenger 2 hours after we were supposed to record and you made your bed, dog. It's over. So I wish you the best, but you'll never get another opportunity with me. Why is that? Not that I don't give second chances. I'm too busy, man. Good luck getting that second chance. I keep it moving. And that's the podcast world, bro. We are the new radio. That's just what it is. These long-form conversations, people eat them up because we're commuting more than ever. I love it.
It's a beautiful thing, having these conversations. And the ability to have the conversations is huge for that person involved in the conversation. And then you get a chance to record it and share it to an audience. I mean, that's cool. You like the people that you've had on your show, the people that we've had on our show, any show in that manner. And then you have the ability to, anyone has access to that forever. That's cool.
Should we just start speaking things into fruition? How about the Nick and Giselle show? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's got.
Yeah,
I think
it's got to happen, Doc.
It's a birdie putt that sinks. Yep. You know, the ball get legs, it goes in.
I think it's got to happen.
Cultivating heat for sure.
When are we gonna feed this dog some nut butter? I mean, sun butter.
in a very soon time.
That slipped up.
Nick and Squirrel Show.
The Nick and Squirrel Show, baby.
Nick and Squirrel.
Well, we're transitioning to the last few portions of our show. This portion is a game. So game alert. This is something we didn't prep you with. Something that we didn't prep this time along.
Oh, boy.
But we're just going to hit it home. The game format, so game.
Game.
Gang. The game format is I give you a word, you give me a word. Simple?
What's the catch?
It's just the first thing that comes in your head. So we're going to give you a word. Say Rochester. And you would say?
Bonk Central.
Okay. I say water. You say?
Liquid.
Okay.
I say life.
Oh, so we're still going? Microorganisms.
I say astronaut.
Me.
Tiger.
Rawr.
Podcasts.
Be heard.
Opportunity.
Take it.
Minnesota.
Brr.
Midwest.
Farmer Joe.
Entrepreneurship.
Don't do it.
Growth.
Keep stunting.
All right, dude. I think
we did it. Yeah, I think that was the game.
Dude, let's keep going, man.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Family.
Love.
Legacy.
What I'm about.
Color.
I don't see it.
Old school. Sorry, that's 2 words. Old.
I've been hitting with 3 words. Old. Oh. Saggy balls.
Ooh. Oh. New.
Smells good.
Technology.
Future.
Future.
Perspective.
Travel.
Hyped.
Beer.
Did you say theater?
I said beer.
Me. Beer me.
Beer you. Yeah.
There you go.
Phones.
Hello? Housekeeping? Housekeeping, want me fluff your pillow? You gotta finish it. Housekeeping.
What's the finish?
You've never seen Tommy,
Tommy
Boy?
Boy, yeah.
Oh,
Housekeeping, want me fluff your pillow? Housekeeping, want me jerk you off? Come on, you guys. Jeez,
Sorry.
that's a cult classic.
yeah, we blew it. That's my fault.
Fat guy in a little coat. That's the one I would. He comes in there right after that.
in a little coat. Yeah, dude. I sing it every single time I put my parka on. My wife loves it.
Yo, first off, where did you get that game, dude?
I was just certain you had like come up with a game in the show notes, and I was like, I gotta find one, man.
You found it. That
Yeah.
shit was hilarious. I love it.
I do 5 greatest inventions.
Okay.
Dude, Theo Von, I'll be releasing that podcast next week. He actually came up with 5 inventions. Bro, and he was on it too. Okay, so typically what I do is like one of mine is Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre brought us so much. I know he's more or less an inventor, not an invention, but he brought us a lot. Things like a lot of people say internet, technology, cell phones, airplanes, so we can travel. Theo Von, people got to tune into that because he actually came up with inventions out of his head. Bro, one of them, I'll drop one of them. It was an umbrella that would catch the water and you could drink the water out of the umbrella or something like that and it would filter it. And he's coming just like that,
Yeah.
snap of the fingers.
Dude, if you can, like, one word Theo Von is quick-witted thinker. Like, dude, he is quick. I had never heard of him until their event, and Declan showed me him. Dude is fire. Like, he is quick.
And he does it on stage too. Like he'll just walk around and then he'll talk. It's like boom, story. Then it's like boom, let's relate it to something that just came into my head and tie it all together. Like the guy is awesome, and I love that quick-witted because I try and do it myself. And we were talking earlier about like screwing around on Instagram. Like I bagged bagged Snapchat, and I knew I bagged Snapchat when I stopped saving streaks. Now I'm over here in the Instagram world on the live streets of Instagram, and I'm just screwing around now on my story.
Hold on, are you done with Snapchat?
I'm not officially done. I still use it as a form of communication, but like I'm pretty much out, bro.
Bro, I'm not feeling it anymore, man. The filters are played out. I like creating characters on there. And I like when I'm on the road utilizing it, but at the same time, man, it's not as user friendly with the connectivity with Instagram and Facebook, one and the other. You don't have to save and then transition over. I wonder what's going to happen there with the advertisement game as well. They're going to have to do something extremely different out of the blue.
Yeah,
I totally
where's
agree.
the business besides the social interaction?
Well, and what also got me too was, once we started the podcast, getting into analytics and understanding like how your stuff is, received. Like Snapchat, dude, when they changed their whole platform to where your stories, like they weren't just right across the top, no one watches your story anymore, dude.
Stupid.
But guess how many people, half of my followers on my Instagram watch my story. So of course I'm going to screw around on Snapchat or on Instagram, dude. I was doing yoga the other day. And I was just thinking, so there's this girl who's just famous, yoga with Adriene. If you're a yoga person but can't get to the studio, you got to go to Adriene. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, really?
She guides you through it.
She guides you through it, and it's
yeah.
nice and it's not like too hectic where you're just like out here sweating.
Yeah.
You will be if you do some of them, but some of them are just like smart, like body movements that you need to incorporate, and it's YouTube, so it's free.
Right.
Huge.
Right here.
So
dog.
here I am doing this yoga.
Adriana?
Yep, you got it, dude. So she's just guiding me through the most intense yoga positions, and I am just the most obedient, dog-like creature, just sweating my ass off, and just obedience was the main word. And she just made me like a shark in the water, dude. I'm meant to be there, a lion in the jungle. So I just started playing around like, all right, what was I? Like reflecting on it, trying to be like Theo Von. Like, what was I? I was like, man, I was a shark in the water. She unlocked another version of myself, bro. It was nuts, dude.
Bruh.
Like that, but that's that's the Theo Von in me right there. Like he brings out that it's almost forced wit, but I'm getting better at it, dude. I'm like, it's just more fun. I have a blast just ranting back and forth with someone and just spitballing, dude. Like that's one of my favorite things to do nowadays.
Yeah, Theo loves Minnesota. We're lucky. He is definitely an ambassador of our state. Everything worked out. And I think that's kind of this deep belief when we have it in ourselves. Things just fall into place, you know, and that's kind of a big thing with me early on in the podcast world where it's like, man, I don't want to go, but there's a reason why I need to go. I've got to go have this conversation with this council member or this mayor to be, because that was my podcast early on where I'm just climbing up the totem pole, having these conversations that I don't necessarily want to have, but locally can go viral. And a lot of the times it did, you know, where we're pumping out a lot of views every single month organically and no promotion at all. And then we're building our local clout, and I'll never forget July 20th. It was 2 days before my wedding, and we get asked by KAL. I had to get vetted through our local news station, which is kind of the Michael Jordan of news stations in our city. I had to get vetted. They're like, what? You want to come interview Carson Forsman and Laura Lee? Laura Lee! Here to take jobs again. But that's the night I created. I left. I had a stand-up at Thursdays on First where we're selling clothes. And I left it to my wife and my cousin to run. And I just created this. I went and picked up this wig. I picked up this mustache. And I threw on this old douchebag of a suit. And I just I walked in and I had my videographer with me. And they didn't know I was doing this. They vetted me twice. They're like, you're not going to swear, right? You're going to be professional, right? Oh, yeah, of course. They didn't know I was going to bring Burt Wellington to the party. So I called him, he's Ron Burgundy's drunk uncle. Burt Wellington here to take jobs again tonight at 10. So I went in there and I had Laura Lee. I call her Linda Lee. I had her doing my makeup and stuff. And pretty much, bro, it just like grew its own legs. You know, little things like that when you create characters. That's what made Saturday Night Live so big, where it's like, bro, these off-the-collar characters that are like higher versions of yourself, where it's like, you know what, I am a used car salesman in my soul. I am a douchebag, you know. Let me do it, but it's not really me, you know. And little things like that where you have to spice it up a little bit. And that's basically what I'm getting at is like, I get bored easily. That blabber is always there. That ADD mother trucker is always there. He gets bored. I'm surprised we went longer than 45 minutes because it gets boring, you know, so I got to spice it up a little bit. So we'll bring in a zoologist where it's like I make sure my co-hosts tell me she can't bring a snake, but I make sure she brings a snake so we can spice it up. And I make sure she gives it to me and I just let it go on the floor. You know what I'm saying? So my boys are hopping up on the chair because I got to make shit interesting. Dude, that's my life, you know, and that's where travel comes into play like we were talking about earlier in the show. The most boring people don't travel, let's be honest. The ones we want to hang with are the travelers, where they're just getting up and going. They're not making excuses why they can't go to their boy's wedding down in Dallas, Texas. They're just going, you know, and moments come out of it. So
take action, man.
Take action, baby.
I love it. So we got two final questions. We could talk for hours.
I got two final answers.
All right. The first one puts the ball in your court, and it's one of our favorite. It's just, do you have any questions for us? Because we just spoke for an hour, and we asked you a ton of questions. We'd love to hear if you have any in return.
The fields you're working in right now for a career, did you major in that in college?
Well, we're majoring as podcast, or the career we're in right now is podcasting, and an engineering degree does not necessarily warrant or prepare you for a podcast degree or a podcast job or a business job or starting a business.
That's one great answer, you big boy.
Yeah, you smart talker. So I business communications and business management, a business guy over here, you know, here to make money. But podcast, you could say, plays a role in there, not necessarily. What I'm doing to make money, I work at Life's a Beach lake cleanup with my brother. Yeah, we do lake weed removal in Lake Minnetonka.
Heck yeah.
I do that from 9 to 5 or 9 to 4, whatever. How many houses depending we have?
Dude, you got job security there. We got plenty of lakes.
Exactly. No, I didn't major in it, and I think what you're getting at is you don't necessarily need to major in the career that you actually want to pursue. Yeah. It all comes down to what you've been preaching this whole podcast. And it's trust in yourself and totally buying in.
I think I'm preparing myself for this question like, you're an engineering major. Why did you get into podcasting and why did you start it? And then why is this your career now? Engineering, I was good at it, not to brag. I succeeded, did very well. And I could have gotten like a sweet engineering job and I would have loved it. I would not deny that one bit. But engineering taught me problem solving and just throwing your freaking body on the wall and battling and figuring it out at every single step. Because when you have an engineering problem, and Matt talked about this on our last podcast, it's not like you do one thing and it gives you the answer and now you know how to do other things. It's like, no, you do one thing and that's the first layer and there's 75 layers, and then at the end of that you'll have somewhat of an answer. And that's the same thing with, I feel like, entrepreneurship, podcasting. It's like, dude, we started with buying a mic from Best Buy for $45. That blue microphone sitting in the corner over there. God bless it for the last year and 4 months. It took us another 2 months to figure out what an RSS feed was to get on, and to host our own website and get it on iTunes. It took us another, I would argue, the remainder of that semester and all of summer to figure out a process, what's going to hit as far as content, how to perform that content, all this other stuff. And it's just gonna keep going. But now I know how to do that. Like Facebook ads. Gary Vee talked about how important it was. I started at the surface level of like, I don't know what the hell this is. Now I kind of understand it. So just me being able, that constant practice of problem solving, and you're doing the same thing. It's just, that's how we do it, and it's beneficial, and it's helped. That college degree helped me do this now.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys have your house fantasy football draft this Saturday.
Yes.
Do you know the order of picks yet?
We do not randomize an hour before.
Hour before?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you gunning for, big boy? Declan?
Ooh. Either Alvin Kamara or DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, so you're looking for a 5 to 10 pick?
Yep.
All right. How about you, Andrew?
The Insera household, my last name, Andrew Insera. We are deeply rooted in the black and yellow, the Berg. That's where the family came off the boat.
You got a couple options then.
I got a couple options. I could go running back. I could go wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my go-to, and it's Antonio Brown.
Tony Two Taps.
Tony Two Tap. He works.
Yep. Dude, he's a beast. He's just the best ever.
All right, last question.
Okay.
What did you learn today from the moment you woke up to when we're having this conversation right now?
Ooh, I love this. I typically don't do New Year's resolutions, but I knew I had a daughter on the way. So I had to, I'm an impatient person. It's my money and I want it now. And every single day, man, I am really trying to harness the ability to be patient. And every single day I get better at it. So today I woke up to a blowout. My daughter, I've got these guys moving in a new dryer we got. Okay, so I got that. I got my German Shepherd out front, tied up, barking at him left and right. I've got to do my breath work, and I've got to hone it in, and I've got to be patient. And I know that these guys are probably going to take an hour hooking it up and stuff. My daughter's going to be up in like 25 minutes. So I went in, and I knew she was all wet. And this is something where it's typical, but it's not always a zoo where I got my cat trying to sneak outside while they move in. She's a psychopath. I've got my dog out front being a butthole. And then I got my daughter who had a literal explosion all the way up her back. So that's what you call an insta-bath. It was yellow.
Insta-bath.
It looked like... I could break it down.
No, dude, I can't handle that right now, dude.
It looked, bro, it was bad. But anyways, so it's things like that. But like when you have a zoo going on around you, and you're able to just hone it in and focus on patience on a daily basis. So I will never quit trying to sharpen that sword when it comes to patience. And I learn on a daily basis, bro. Being a father, a first-time father. I've only been married for a year, and I just really I'm learning a lot about civility within a household, keeping it reined in. One thing about me is I don't put my family online, and I didn't even know Gary didn't do that. I just knew Joe Rogan didn't do that. So I think it's tacky when people are overexposing their little human beings they create, or overexposing the love for their significant other. I think, man, when you give it all to the world, what's left at home? You know what I'm saying? And that's something where my wife and I weren't even Facebook official until the day we got married. You know, we were together for 5 years prior to that. People have still never seen my daughter. And she's the cutest little bean ever. But yes, I'll show you a picture. I'll send you a picture. I'm just not putting it out for the world to see. I think it's weird. I think it is. We're so addicted to these red bubbles that pop up that you are using my daughter. Like, I've had to have this conversation with her aunts and one of her grandparents where it's like, no, I don't care. My daughter is being used for your red bubble addiction. That ain't going to fly. Because no matter what, if you can't cherish that moment, you're putting it out to the ether so you can grab attention from it. And that's not the world. That's not where the internet is going. The internet is going to, you better be providing value to everyone. Your live videos, everything better have a point to it. Because what do we do when we see the same old person who always goes live? They never provide value. What do? We keep scrolling. We don't even tune in anymore. They're not providing value from the jump. I don't care if you have a 19-minute long video. As long as I can grab one gem out of that, I'm good. And I know what I'll get next time too. When people obsess over posting their kids online, I can no longer tune into what you provide. Because I don't care about your kids. Yeah, they're cute as hell. That's awesome. I hope they succeed in life. But I truly do not care about your kids. Get my drift?
Absolutely.
Like your boss at work, you don't care about that little Johnny hit a home run at baseball. That's cool, but you ain't got to come to work and tell me about it because I don't care. I'm too focused on mine. We are selfish whether we want to admit it or not, and we have to be selfish so we can provide value to our teammates.
I have a quick question, actually, just going right off that. I know we're going a little over, but
Yeah.
we're never actually going over on this podcast. It's our podcast.
Yes.
My dad told me this one time, and it was like, dude, it's stuck with me since the day he told me. He goes, when you have a kid, it's the biggest transition in your life because you transition from it being all about you to it being all about your kid. What is that like?
All my homies, all my boys would try to tell me what it was like because they beat me to the dance. A lot of them had kids prior to me, and they would always tell me, they would give me precursors. Anything anyone ever tells you about having a child, throw it out the window. One thing my best man in my wedding, one of my best friends, he told me, Nick, be prepared for your heart to live outside of your body. That was one thing that stood true. My heart now lives outside my body. It's no longer my heart beating. It's her heart within me and her heart beating over there. And that is my heart, you know, and it's something that's really stuck with me to the point where nothing matters. That little girl is on my mind all the time. Every decision I make is due to her. Every risk I take is because of her. It's for her. She needs to know, and that brings up legacy. So if I live this basic bitch life and I do my thing, that will be awesome. And she might get a pension out of it, a long-term financial gain out of daddy building something, playing this, going the safe route, playing it safe. But is my legacy that I didn't leave ever going to be a benefit to her? She needs to know that when they're naming parks after me or my company or whatever, that she will always be able to hang her hat on that. And that'll be a resume builder for her. Get my drift? Because I know how fast this planet's moving. So we're graduating from school. School is going to be further education in the form it's in now is going to be irrelevant when my daughter's graduating from high school in 18 years. It's going to be a whole different ball game. It's going to be all about what the hell did dad build and how did he set me up. It's not like the old heads. It's shape-shifting. Everything is shape-shifting right now, and we need to be so aware of it. We need to play this. It's beyond playing the game of chess of life. We need to start realizing that we are swimming uphill backwards with a blindfold on. Now, to put that into perspective, we ain't got a clue. We have no clue. So it's all about living in this moment right now, putting one foot in front of the other, and making steady gains on a daily basis. So when we wake up, we learn every single day. We learn something new. We learn about RSS feed. We learn how to build our own website. We create this team that's going to be an absolute asset, an absolute benefit, so they can salvage our time. They can salvage our energy. And as long as my team is salvaging me energy and me time, that's where I'm going to be able to set my daughter up. That's where I'm going to be able to read her more Dr. Seuss. That way, I'm going to be having her write her own Dr. Seuss books by the time she's 5. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to keep my daughter off the internet. I'm going to get her to the point where when she's ready to start her own YouTube channel and she's going to be able to provide value to the world and get her clicks up, that's where she's going to be able to do it herself. Get my drift?
Yes.
And it's all about that. We need to be focusing on providing value to this planet as opposed to being a waste of space. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. Because there are way too many people who have basic bitch syndrome who are wasting space. And I ain't got time for it. And I don't mean to come off as a dick. I just know what's happening. And it's eating up my timeline. It's eating up my news feed. And that's why I like what the Back Pocket's doing, because your guys' questions are actually tapping into something deeper. And it cultivates further conversation that I want to have. So thank you.
No, thank you so much, Nick, stationary astronaut, guest of the Back Pocket. Man, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on our show. Declan, you want to add anything to that?
We cultivated heat, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the most heat cultivated from these mics ever. And I was on Planet 9 the entire time, dude. And I love it. I can't wait to keep doing this again and again. And I can't wait to, I can't wait to actually send it to like 10 of the people that I think would listen to it and have them listen to this, because it's important. There's so much shit that we tapped into on this podcast. It's unbelievable. And it's funny because, Gary always talks about throwing the 98 or only 2% taking it back. I'm excited for the 2% to get back to me and talk to us about it. So thanks for coming out, man. Dude. Right here, brother. Just right here. Hold her. Him. Hold her.
You get your gizmo, dude. This thing's sweet. Maybe we can go buy this.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about her.
Dude, take this gizmo, bro.
Gizmo, how are you? What's his name, her name?
Her name is Penelope Cruz.
Penelope?
Did you get enough?